на следующей неделе последнее пленарное заседание в Страсбурге. И до 25 апреля всем нужно освободить свои кабинеты, потому что на время выборной кампании Европейский парламент закрывается. Осталось упаковать историческую карту Риги, которую когда-то взял с собой из Рижской думы. Ну и что? И вперед. А пока небольшой отчет о том, что я делал последние 5 лет, работая в Европейском парламенте.
There are roughly 5 to 7 million Russians or Russian speakers who live right now in Europe. In countries like Latvia, absolute majority of them are Latvian citizens, that is, citizens of the European Union.
Socialists and Democrats believe that expulsion of old and sick people for failing a language test is an outrageous violation of the values and principles of the European Union.
And that's exactly why, stronger than ever, we must support enhancing, or in some cases establishing, European identity of Russian-speaking residents of our Union. Voting for the budget, we support providing more information by this House about the Union and European Parliament in the languages of national and linguistic minorities and regional languages. European Union has to think outside the box, demonstrate strong leadership, and provide support for European media in Russian language. In this House, I represent Latvian voters who live at the border region of Latgalii. In Latvia, the second largest city of Daugavpils is located roughly less than 30 kilometers away from Belarusian border. Likewise, major cities like Ludza, Kraslava or Dagda are located within the same proximity to the Russian border. Stability, prosperity and security of Europe is equally depending both on what is going on in Brussels, Berlin and Paris, and what's happening in cities like Daugavpils. EU money must be directed towards providing additional new support for border regions like Latgalii, for economic and social development, to compensate the costs incurred by the war and the geopolitical situation. The western part of the EU has much higher capacities to provide help to its citizens, while in the eastern part, people literally will have to choose either paying for their heating or for their food this winter, like in my home country, Latvia. In Latvia, on one hand, there are concerns that a significant part of EU funds, up to 500 million euro, may just go unspent.
I can mention an example of my country when one of the ministers publicly allowed a probability that all the money from NGU would be distributed among municipalities that represent government parties.
Recovery and resilience facility success or failures cannot be measured in the square kilometers of repaired roads, cubic meters of renovated buildings, or numbers of projects tagged with words digital or environmental.
On the other hand, we have examples like Rail Baltica, a high-speed rail project connecting European countries in the Baltic region. And here we see another failure of Latvian authorities, the new railroad skipping Riga. In my home country, Latvia, public administration has a controversial image. Sometimes the reason for it are bad decisions by Latvian politicians. What we don't want to see, Latvian mistakes being brought to Brussels. We see these days more and more kids all across Europe, from Latvia to Belgium, from Sweden to Portugal, many thousands of them coming to schools, either with empty lunchboxes or having no money to buy themselves lunches in the school canteen.
I come from the Baltics, from Latvia. Our country went through enormous, dramatic economic transition back in the 90s, going from plan to market.
Do we really believe it's the best timing to spend 4.5 million at least on the EP Citizens' House in time when European Union citizens, lots of them, tens of thousands of them, will have problems with heating their own houses?
And at the same time, this House keeps on moving with the plans to tear down the iconic European Parliament's SPAC building in Brussels because it's 30 years old and it's not energy efficient enough.
It's about the image of our institution, which shows absolute lack of empathy during one of the worst crises we are facing right now.
Erecting new premises is already estimated to cost at least 500 million euro, and taking into account skyrocketing prices, we can easily imagine ourselves that the final cost will be around 1 billion euro. My country, Latvia, recently celebrated the arrival of the first NGU payment, 200 million euro. It's roughly 20% of the price of a planned one new European Parliament building.
Latvia is entering full-scale lockdown tomorrow, including curfew after 8 p.m. Latvian government failed to take control over the COVID pandemic. As a result, Latvian citizens are depending more and more on various forms of support, both from the union budget and different ways of financing. We must keep in mind lessons from the COVID crisis. Neither the strongest military defense nor the most advanced social systems are enough to protect our welfare or security. Robust healthcare systems, that becomes our new challenge.
To put it simple, businesses that fail to respect workers' social rights will not receive any money from Europe. You pay wages in envelopes, no EU money. If you've got an administration, you cannot provide financing for 10 months. You have to provide for the full year if you expect that they work at the full capacity and provide results. Do you plan to coordinate 1 trillion euros for this initiative, which is fantastic indeed? And question number 1 is, could you outline, please, how do you plan to finance this initiative? 60 more million in the Erasmus Plus program. More support for young people to travel and experience student life in another European country and city. I know this very well from the experience of Latvian students in particular, and is by far one of the most successful programs in the European Union.